What's good, y'all? So, the Paper Mario the 1000 Year Door remake finally came out. And well, as I'm a big fan of both Mario and the RPG genre, this was a game I just knew I had to pick up. It's a great game that I would honestly put in my top 5 RPGs of all time, but maybe that's something best suited for another video later down the line. As for now, I simply want to talk about this remastered Paper RPG classic. So, Paper Mario the 1000 Year Door is an RPG game starring the lovable red-wearing plumber named Mario, who is on a quest to gather the 7 crystal stars and save Princess Peach from this villainous group known as the isnt, who want to use her as a vessel for this evil being known as the Shadow Queen so they can take over the world. The game was an absolute classic for its time, and nowadays I would say it still holds up incredibly well. Of course, we do have to factor in that after this game, the Paper Mario series went into a bit of a weird direction, but nonetheless, this is an amazing game that absolutely deserved to get a remake. So a whole new audience could enjoy it for themselves, and now 20 years later, here we are. First off, I want to talk a bit about the presentation and performance. As with some of the more recent Nintendo exclusives, the looks and performance have been kind of all over the place, making me kind of have a bit of a sour experience with them. Well, fortunately enough, the team behind this remake knew exactly what they were doing. And not only did they blow some new life into this GameCube classic with the incredible and colorful aesthetic and also a fully updated OST, the frame rate on top of this is also stable and only ever seemed to dip in the later half of the game with a couple of small cutscenes. But sadly, the frame rate has taken a bit of a toll, going from 60 FPS on the GameCube to 30 FPS on Switch. This is definitely a bit of an unfortunate change that have made quite a lot of people salty about this remake. Personally, I don't think it's all that big of a deal. The game is still perfectly playable, and on top of that, this game is a turn-based RPG. So FPS doesn't really matter all too much, as with 99% of the game you can take as much time as you want just walking around and thinking of your next move while in battle. Going into gameplay, the 1000 Year Door is a really solid game that has a good balance of overworld exploration and fun turn-based combat, focusing on timed inputs, and changing anything about this game will be trying to fix something that isn't even broken to begin with. So instead of trying to fully reinvent the entirety of the gameplay, they just decided to clean up some of the things in the game to make the whole overall experience a bit more pleasant. Take the backtracking for example. There are a good handful of tasks in the game, both for the main story and side quests, where you have to go back and forth across multiple areas just for you to do one small thing and then go back from where you came. To fix this, they simply just added some new warp pipes to some areas, which is a tad lazy, but at least they have also gone out of their way to add in a new Toad NPC known as the Battle Master, who can teach you all about the ins and outs of battling, which I find incredibly helpful. And they also made it so that you can now also quickly change out your current on-field partner by pressing and holding down the L button, which is a bit faster than if you will just go through the menu and switch them out in there. Honestly saying, I'm quite happy that Nintendo actually decided to put in some effort to make the remake be an improvement over the original, even though the changes are in retrospect a bit boring, making it a little bit hard to really talk about them in length while still making this video entertaining. So instead of just going on and on about some minor upgrades, let's take a look at some things that could be considered to be minor setbacks. Seeing as this game was originally on the GameCube, and with the Switch having GameCube controller support, I was eager to see if the game would actually support these old controllers, and to my surprise they do work, but you will lose out on some functions and it won't feel the same as back on the GameCube. The flip ability you use in the game to go through narrow spaces has been moved to the ZR button in the remake, while it originally was on the R button, so now if you want to use the ability with a GameCube controller, you have to press and hold down on the small Z button, which I just find really uncomfortable. On top of this, in battle, every attack that requires the use of the back triggers feels a bit off when using a GameCube controller. This is probably because of how different the triggers on the Switch controllers are compared to the ones on the GameCube. On Switch, the back triggers are just regular old buttons that click down once you just tap them, but on the GameCube controller the triggers are more pressure sensitive, allowing games to benefit from both light and more heavy inputs on the triggers. But as the Switch just has regular buttons, they probably didn't think about the more pressure sensitive GameCube triggers while working on this game. Also, while this isn't that big of a deal, the ability to listen to the original OST of the game is locked behind a small paywall of one in-game coin that allows you to get the nostalgic tunes badge. I find this a little bit unnecessary, as they could have easily just made the ability to listen to the original OST as an option in the settings menu. And well, with that we have pretty much gone over the bulk of what the remake of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door has to offer for both new and old players. I really enjoyed my time with this game, and I think I can confidently say that if you enjoyed the original Thousand Year Door, you will most likely enjoy this remake. It really is faithful to the original, still feeling as magical as special, while still being incredibly fun and memorable. And honestly, as someone who has been wanting to experience this game in its entirety, I'm just incredibly happy that Nintendo has acknowledged this game, and who knows, maybe this remake is a sign that Nintendo is wanting to experiment more with the Mario RPG series. But well, only time will tell, and until that happens, I will just keep on enjoying other RPGs, such as Persona, Xenoblade, or maybe even Neptunia. Well, anyways, hope you all enjoyed this short video, as I will soon be back with something a bit longer.